गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉट। गना शॉट में आप सबका स्वागत है। द मिलियन डॉलर क्वेश्चन, कैन इंडिया बी स्टॉप्ड बाय यूएसए और चाइना? वेल, at the outset, let me tell you, it can't be stopped. But having said that, we need to examine it because both USA and China are hell bent on ensuring that India doesn't rise. I mean, it's not a, this is not a theoretical thing, it's a practical issue. So we'll examine it. But having said that, why did I choose this topic today? Afghanistan is in flames. Uh, that Pak dictator Asim Munir has said something. A lot of things are happening all over. Sharm el Sheikh, something is happening in Bangladesh. The Dhaka terminal is burning. But I chose this because I've been tracking this problem for quite some time. We have a thing, oh, should we go towards China? Should we go towards India? All this. And then I dug in some research and what people say, what people don't say, and all that. And then I came out. I realized there's something happening in this country. Many of us don't realize it. Some of us do. There's no doubt. Some of us realize it to some extent. Many of us don't realize it to any extent. We are self-doubting. But there are people outside who have started, saying, and they've started confirming to what I have been saying. In fact, a lot of people are now actually confirming my hypothesis on this. And that is why I thought I must share this with you. I'll get a lot of views. Look, I have always said India's rise is unstoppable because we are not a opposed economy. Or rather, we've always been an opposed economy. That I'll put it the other way around. We've always been an opposed economy. We've not been an aided economy. While no one has opposed us, but we've never been aided. The opposition has come in terms of our own internal problems, wars, what have you, sanctions. But today there is a very cognizant effort by USA and China to put us down. And that is why I thought I must do this examination today. So let's go. The first thing I saw this, and what set me off was this particular tweet, right, by someone called Open Magazine. But he says Donald Trump targeting of India is not subtle like Xi Jinping's. But Washington and China are in agreement that India's rise must be stalled. While China worries about demographic catastrophe, US confronts its declining global power. So that's the problem. That's the problem for both these countries. So I went and said, look, what are the factors which are constraining India, both from USA and from China, which are ensuring that we get stalled. Well, we know USA, Trump's H-1 visa restrictions, Chabahar port, which was waived, sanctions were waived off, are now reimposed. Tariffs, huge problem. Russia oil purchase, the very concept of strategic autonomy or joining BRICS, is no way. Hate India campaign. So all these factors are indicative of the fact there is a very concerted effort in USA to ensure that India doesn't rise and become another China. There are a whole lot of differences, but we'll talk of it some other day between India and China. The Chinese, they've been at it for a long time. They knew always, right? So they've got the string of pearls theory. They've used Pakistan as a cat's paw to pull us down. They don't give us tunnel boring machines lest we develop our infrastructure. They don't do any investment in tech and in technology, just want to sell, right, their items at, in some manner, and enter our markets, enter our thing. They want to buy off your companies. They tried it during COVID. They want to put pressure on LAC so that you focus on LAC, spend more money on defense and all that, and your economy suffers. And ensure you don't look at the Indian Ocean region. And they will deny access to key goods, expertise, and technology. So all these put together, if you say, we are in a double whammy. There are two superpowers who are trying to put you down. So we have to understand it is in this, we are now in complete headwinds. Before this, it was a matter of historically we were in wars. Historically, we were in sanctions for various factors, and hence we couldn't progress. No one gave us technology. We sought strategic autonomy, all that. They were not coercive factors. They were complementary factors. These, which are now on, are coercive factors. They are coercing us. They are restricting us willfully. So it is in this context that we need to see where we stand. And then we'll say, okay, what next? Right. I didn't know actually how to tackle this topic, to be very honest with you. So till I came across this World Economic Outlook, and this is from IMF. I read that, and certainly pennies started dropping, and I started getting an idea as to what I should speak to all of you. And that's what I'm going to speak. And in this, I'm going to show you a lot of clips. Well, what I request is with every clip, I will wait. I would like any one of you to say, yeah, I can hear this clip, or I've heard this clip. If not, I have a backup. I'll show you. It will be a little clumsy, but you will see the clip, because those clips are the content, the real content. Okay. So this report, the World Economic Outlook, says, and this come in October. This is for October. It's very latest, hot as this thing. Look, the thing is, the global economy is in a flux, and the prospects remain dim. This is for the whole globe. We have to understand where India is in the context of the whole globe. Not very good. The economic growth, for each country has been put down, and for advanced economies, sab kuch, it's now full chart. But let's look at the advanced economies. If you see the advanced economies, these three columns, this for 24, this for 25, and 26. Okay. And look at USA. It was growing at 2.8%, and it's now down to 2%, and it'll hang around there. There are economies like Germany which are struggling to stay afloat. Overall, if you look, the advanced economies are hardly growing 1-2%. In many cases, these are subdued and they are in deflation. Look, there's another factor. The IMF will not put out 100% correct figures. They'll depress it and moderate it to suit their systems. They can't say the entire West is in collapse or economic problems. Look at the emerging economies. You see here. Even China, China was going at 5% last year, down to 4.8%. Next year it is projected to be 4.2%. China is on a complete down slope. And another thing, the justification for Chinese growth is not there. And the contradiction is there in this report. It's only India which is an outlier, above 6%. There is no major economy which is above 6%. tells you something. The summary, I've summarized that report. What does it say? It says the global outlook is fluid and volatile. Anything can happen. There is a huge amount of protectionism. So this WTO and all has gone out of the window. And there's fragmentation in links, supply chains, fragmentation of global norms taking place. The next important thing, he says there is a sizable cut in development and aid, and there are very restrictive stances on immigration. So poorer countries are not getting aid, there's no development taking place. People can't migrate. Tariffs have come into place. And there is more stimulus for defense spending. So people are becoming protectionist, isolationist, more hostile to each other. There is inflation in the West, there's balance in the middle, and deflation in China. The global economy is fragmenting, sliding into a fragmented landscape, and risks to the outlook increase. Why risks? There's so many wars. 10 years back, there were not so many wars, but today there are so many wars. There's so many conflicts. And these conflicts are now raging from 21, 22 onwards. Ukraine, Gaza. It's not finished. The Gaza business is not finished. South China Sea, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan. All these are happening. A very important thing, there is a suboptimal reallocation of productive resources. Technologically, people are decoupling. Whether it's chip war or rare earths war, or no one is sharing technology. As it is, people were not sharing technology, but today it's being decoupled. And knowledge is being limited. No diffusion of knowledge. That's why people are not getting visas in USA to get to study, because they don't want to share that knowledge. To top it all, there's labor shortage. And those countries which are poor demography or poor demographics are suffering or will suffer due to the labor shortage. That's why you see a country like China, it can't go up, it's only going down. People say China is big, yeah, whoa. But yeah, it could be big, so what if? It's like a stagnant pool of water. So same problem with USA. USA is probably slightly better. There's no movement. You have to be like a river flowing. Growth rates have declined in Italy and Germany. They're conspicuously declining. The IMF talks of that, but doesn't reflect it in figures. Growth in China in the second quarter slowed to 4.2% from 6.1%. Both are inflated figures, in my opinion. The IMF covers up Chinese holes because a lot of people are invested in China. If the figures for China go down, then there's a global effect. Next, right? Okay. The growth for the group of emerging market economies, excluding China, is stronger than expected. In the emerging markets, they are doing well. Middle powers, right? Now, then they say in the end, resilience originates in improvement in domestic institutions and favorable external conditions. Many economies today, many countries don't have this. However, they say external conditions are becoming more challenging, and in many cases, the domestic momentum is slowing. Classic cases USA are I mean, I would say one, both USA and China are classic cases where their internal problems are slowing their economy down. Both. Okay, the very interesting graph again. Very interesting graph. Uh, I'd say, have a look at it in peace. This is the business confidence in United States, China, Euro, and the rest of the world. Look at it. See that business confidence in China. After 2018, the business confidence in China is only going down in negative territory. Okay. And the others are just skimming around. So overall in the world, the business confidence is low and lowest in China. And then, of course, when you look at the consumer confidence, business confidence is manufacturing, firms, consumer confidence is who's going to eat, what you produce. Look at China here. It's way down. Okay. So, in fact, it's USA, if it is being saved by anything, it is a business, the consumer confidence. So you see that the overall macro indicators are not favorable for China and USA, but very favorable for India. And this is where that unstoppability comes. India can't be stopped. And I keep seeing this, and this is it. Because if India has to be stopped, USA and China will also suffer. We've come to that. We'll talk a little more as we go along. Look at the global inflation trends. You need a little bit of inflation everywhere to drive economies up. And this is where I want you to focus on China. This is a Chinese line. It's way down. It's been in deflation zone right from 23 onwards, barely going a little up, but mostly down. And the rest of the economies are okay. And you'll see here, it's the other emerging economies which are doing well. Economy, inflation in the rate of about 3 to 4% is good. Right. Now, let's see if this is so, what is it that gives strength to India? I'm going to show you a series of clips. This clip is by the director of the IMF. Okay. What we'll do is I'll play this clip. I hope you are able to hear it. If you hear it, fine. If you don't hear it, I want a reaction from any one of you, and then I'll put the alternate clip which I have as a backup. Okay, here we go.
India is one of the fastest growing economies, and given its size, it contributes to global growth substantially. India is where it is because it has pursued very significant reforms. Tax reform, investing in infrastructure, digital infrastructure, but also roads, connectivity in the country. And that has injected this growth potential. Now, indeed, there is a significant change. The largest economy in the world has chosen to use tariffs as an instrument in relations with partners. Here is the interesting fact today. The rest of the world has not followed so far, and I want to put the emphasis on so far. Out of 191 members of the IMF, we have seen only 3 moving more forcefully on tariffs. Of course, first the United States, China, and to a certain degree, although there have been significant adjustments, Canada.
So this is very interesting. What is she saying? She says India's growth story is growth, reforms, AO, and all that. Out of 191 countries, only 3 countries are there who are hanging around with tariffs. We will count Canada out, USA, and China. The other 188 countries are not into tariffs so far. They're not got involved. And they have space to trade. And now that space is, is part of this change. That space is being exploited by India. And many people are now turning towards India, which I will speak of. But hear her.
188 countries said, thank you, but not thank you. We prefer to continue to trade on most, what was the term? Most favored nation.
So 188 countries have said we will trade with each other on most favored nation basis. They are not followed. So actually, if you look at it, the question which comes to mind is, have China and USA isolated themselves out of this world? And see, this whole story in this clip is all about India.
Rules. And we are encouraging countries to please do that, because unless you are very large, relatively close economy, and India is not, it's an open economy, it doesn't work well for you.
So India is an open economy. It's a large economy. There is reforms. There's infrastructure going forward. There's open trade going on, and it's growing. That's what she says. India is where it is because of all the forward-looking things which it has done. This coming at the heel of this is something important. Someone spoke of Geeta Gopinath. She is not there anymore. This lady has been the director of IMF, Christina Griglova or something like that. Very good. Okay, now, right. Now let's look at what our own Mr. Piyush Goyal has to say about this issue, right? And trade and things like that. Let's look at it from our point of view. Let's hear him.
Question on US tariffs. The first 6 months exports, despite all these uncertainties, has grown by about 6% or 7% overall. And even in merchandise, we have seen a growth story of India in the first 6 months. There is resilience, there is confidence, there is demand for our goods and services across the world, and India will continue on this growth trajectory. And we are confident we will end financial year 25-26 with a positive growth in India's exports.
So there is, as per him, and he's given, this is a data-driven comment. This is not shooting in the air. There's data to prove that tariffs so far have not affected us. And even going farther forward, they're going to affect us. There's no doubt that we'll come to. But it's not going to be debilitating. We will still end net positive, which is important. And this is without Chinese help. And we don't need Chinese help. We don't need US help. We can grow on our own. And this is the new director of Reserve Bank. Listen to him. He makes a very compelling case as to why India's economy can't be touched. Let's hear this.
In our projections, actually taken into account the higher tariffs as the baseline.
Right.
But negotiations, are on. Even in, today there is a team over here. So I met the team in the morning over breakfast. They're over here, discussing with the US authorities. See, India is mostly a domestic-driven economy.
So India is mostly a domestic-driven economy. If you look into all our figures, the RBI governor saying this is important. Now, if you look into all the figures, you'll see that our trade is very small percentage of our economy, and so are exports, so is manufacturing, and we have plenty of headroom there. I've always maintained today our manufacturing is about in the region of 13%. If you just take it up to 20%, 7% over the next 5 years, this economy can't be stopped to 5 trillion in before it happens. You can't stop. Just that. Look, the Chinese economy, the manufacturing is 30 odd percent. We don't have to achieve that. Or trade from the present 10 to 12% of our GDP, if it goes up by another 5%, you are booming. We'll be overheated. We might not have, we might have to say, look, let's cool down. Let's complete listening to him.
Right. So while we are impacted, by the higher tariffs, it's not a matter of huge concern. 6.8%, of course, much below our aspirational levels of growth, Viksit Bharat 2047. So it does impact, but yes, there will be an upside if we are able to have an early resolution to the tariffs.
So if there is an early resolution of the tariffs, good. Otherwise, fine. We'll still go. It'll go well. 2047 में विकसित नहीं होंगे तो 2050 में हो जाएंगे यार. कौन सी बड़ी बात है? This is not a Grand Prix prize. So we are on a very, very strong track. We don't realize it, but here it is. So you already heard 3 views, 2 internal views and 1 external view. Let's look at more. This is World Bank. Now, what he talks, he's talking of the farm sector. You hear it. Be patient to hear what he says. And he talks of ultimately what's happening in UP. If what he says is true, I don't see why he is wrong in UP. And just think what's happening elsewhere in more developed states. Let's listen to him.
Well, this works with small farmers, but we have to make it work together. Resilience is embedded at the beginning, it is not added later. Heat-tolerant seeds, soil-matched fertilizers, rejuvenation techniques, efficient irrigation, and strong insurance and financing underpin so that a bad season doesn't become a bad year, doesn't become a bad life. Digital is the glue that holds the system together. Small AI tools and basic phones that can diagnose crop disease from a photograph, that can inform fertilizer choices, it can prompt action well ahead of a weather event and move payments securely. That data trail then becomes a credit history. Better underwriting lowers the cost of capital, lower costs, draw in more lenders. That's the virtuous loop that we want to build. This is not theory. A couple of months ago, I was in India and Uttar Pradesh. I saw all this come together. The foundation, the cooperatives, the resilience, and most importantly, the glue that held it together, the digital system. And it delivered.
So look at it. He's speaking to an international audience. I don't know where he's speaking. But he says, look, all this factor of resilience, digital, which holds together, correct fertilizers, correct approaches to farming. It's happening in India. And he's quoting the Indian example outside. Not because he's an Indian, because he's the head of the World Bank. Look, in a matter of 4 days, the chief of IMF and the head of World Bank talking like this about India, something has to ring here. Right. Let's get ahead.
Proof of concept is it works. Now we need to scale it, and it is scalable. That's the ecosystem we want to replicate wherever possible. That's the ecosystem we want to steal shamelessly. but it only succeeds if government, business, and development partners row in the same direction. That is what is on display the rest of this morning. I thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
So look at it. He says, I've got a proof of concept, you need to just scale it up. And this proof of concept is not small. It's in one of the largest states. In fact, Uttar Pradesh is the largest state in India. If it scales up and you become a hub for others, look at the soft power you're going to get. Look at the hard power of economics you'll get. Okay, does it stop here? I'm going to switch somewhere else. We'll talk of talent. And this is our defense minister talking of talent in defense sector. And I'll connect this up with something else a little later. Okay.
जो टैलेंट था वो हमारे लिए कम यूटिलाइज हो रहा था और दूसरे देशों के लिए ज्यादा यूटिलाइज हो रहा था। डिफेंस सेक्टर में तो यह चीज और भी ज्यादा खुलकर सामने दिख रही थी। वैसे तो हमने आईटी सेक्टर में महारत हासिल की, फार्मास्यूटिकल क्षेत्र में भी महारत हासिल की, सैटेलाइट के क्षेत्र में भी हमने महारत हासिल की, टेलीकॉम के क्षेत्र में भी तथा कम्युनिकेशन के क्षेत्र में भी हमने हासिल की। तो फिर कौन सी बात थी डिफेंस सेक्टर में उस टैलेंट को रिफ्लेक्ट नहीं कर पा रहे थे। हमने इस बात पर भी विचार किया और उसके बाद
So he is worried today. Today, leadership is worried as to why we are not using our own talent in various sectors. He's outlining in certain sectors we have used talent. In many sectors, we are not able to use talent. And why should we not use talent? And we should make ways to use talent. Look, let me tell you, I'm an old guy here. I'm as old as, almost the level of age of our PM and Rajnath Singh and all these people. I've not heard any senior minister talk like this. So there's a thing on. And why is this important? Today, if you go on the YouTube and do a little search, you'll get videos suggesting that the H-1B visa, based on that H-1B visa system, was probably the most foolish thing America has done. And he says, you stop Indian students from coming there, you're going to hurt yourself. The only talent pool which is today available for the world for a long time to come is India. Demographics in China are bad. People don't have jobs, and that's a restrictive atmosphere. In any case, the West doesn't want to get anyone from China. No one wants to go to China. China is going to be completely internalizing in the long run. But where does the West get talent? Because their demography is failing. Yeah, there are countries which have a demographic bulge like Pakistan. Pakistan चले जाओ, आपको radicalism मिलेगा. Right? So it is only in India where you have surplus talent. And now I'll connect it a little more with something else that's just coming ahead. Wait. This is Google's Sundar Pichai. We know that there's a global AI center coming up in Visakhapatnam. Hear what he says. And then I'll get back to talent, all this.
You mentioned South India. I called the Prime Minister of India on Sunday night. I used to take this train.
Prime Minister Modi.
Prime Minister Modi. I used to take this train through the south of India, and there's this town called Vizag. It's a beautiful coastal town growing up. And we announced there you go. We announced our largest ever AI investment outside the US, $15 billion, 1 gigawatt plus data center, 80% powered by clean energy with subsea cables going in. The chance to transform a region like that with a kind of investment it really meant a lot to be able to call the Prime Minister who really cares about developing the country. And this has been his vision. I know you know him well too. And so, anyway, it's extraordinary to see the impact of all this.
Very exciting. And it's a great way to give back. So you really see that this kind of technology, giving access, even being developed, and this nod to South India there.
Yeah.
Very good. It sounded like there's a lot of folks here from India or no vice said. Stand up if you're from India, actually. Would you be welcomed? Wow, look at that.
Look at that. $15 billion for a global AI center in YZ. Google has come. Look, 6 months back, 1 year back, I said, India is the only country which can match China for scale and pace. The transformation will happen. People didn't believe me. It's happening. Man, it's happening. First, Apple came, set up a factory, and we'll see the output of that factory a little later. In fact, I don't know if that clip will come up or not, but today we produce more iPhones in India than China. Right? It's a matter of time that we'll outstrip China and iPhones. You're going to have the biggest, Google comes up with the AI center. Microsoft has already said we are quitting China next year. If they quit China next year, where will they go? Some people say Thailand, but Microsoft has already got a big center here. And what I heard is that they're going to be expanding. Sam Altman wants to come with his OpenAI and set up something here. He says, I'm so excited about this place. We're talking the big people. They're going to invest. If they start investing, you don't need investment from China. And these people are coming despite what Trump is doing. Well, they need you. They need our talent. That's why the talent is linked to this infrastructure. Go back to what the IMF chief said. Why wouldn't we grow? They have no choice. The world does not have a choice but to come to India. For many reasons. But one of the reasons is the talent is here, the aspiration is here, the leadership is here, the political stability is here, and good people are here. It is you and I, as people of India, who make this happen. We shouldn't ever lose sight of that. And that is why I always keep saying, right? I always keep saying that we shouldn't get involved with Pakistan. Don't waste your time with Pakistan. Right? We don't. Okay. Like I heard someone say, he says, please don't celebrate that Google and Apple are coming to India and say then US is keeping you down. Yes, that's the dichotomy which you have to understand. There is a huge section of the polity in US which is trying to keep you down. But there is a huge set of MNCs who are more profit oriented, who want, otherwise they'll collapse. For them, it's a matter of survival. If you don't understand this dichotomy, you're in a problem. Maybe 4-5 years down the line, even China will line up. They don't have a choice. It's not only China, you'll see Europe lining up. We'll talk of that a little later. Okay, what's next?
You mentioned.
This is Tony Abbott, who was the Prime Minister of Australia some time back. And look at what he has to say about India, its democracy and its stability, which I did speak of. Because there is a view in the left liberal society in the West that India is an elected autocracy. Is India an elected autocracy? It suits them, they talk like that. But we are a democracy as good as any other. He puts it up across well, you will listen to him. People say Mr. Modi is an autocrat, he's a dictator. Well, dictators don't get elected thrice in a row. Not in India. It's very difficult. Those who don't know India can talk what he wants. But look at this statement. And all this has come in the past 5-6 days.
Finish on this note. Sometimes the Western liberal or leftist press is critical of India under Modi. He's seen as a sort of a subcontinental Trump, and that's a criticism. I keep saying anyone who knows India appreciates it's got a riotously free media, it's got a robustly independent judiciary, and it has completely free and fair elections, and that's democracy.
So you have a robust democracy. And like any other democracy, there will be problems. I mean, let's not be living, we shouldn't also live in a utopian world. In any case, what's a perfect democracy? Have you seen any perfect democracy? No democracy is perfect. It's the imperfections which make a democracy. Right? And when you look at this, I mean, I like that word. He said, look at Mr. Modi is depicted as a subcontinental Trump. Well, that's the way the narratives are made. Now you understand why there is a group in USA who probably would have prompted Trump to back Pakistan. All the best to them. Okay, now what's next after this? Now I exposed you to international opinions on democracy, on your reforms, on your economy, everything. On your grassroots level things which you are doing, which is being quoted as an example in the World Bank.
Finish on this.
Now look at this. He is Rahm Emanuel. He's a US ambassador earlier. Look at his view about how America is going to suffer because of loss of India. It's very important to understand. There's a strong lobby within, or I won't say lobby, there are strong or a huge set of people within USA who are saying, don't let India go. At some point, restitution will take place. I don't know whether it will take place or not. But till such time that group is there, USA also can't be completely against India. As against China, which can be completely against India at a point of time.
By bringing everybody together through India, Australia, Japan, the United States in the Quad, the United States, Japan, Korea in the Trilat, the same thing with the Philippines, we isolated the isolator. And China felt it, which is why they complained. I think we haven't even touched, we talked about Japan and Korea, our mismanagement of India, a major counterweight against China, both on the manufacturing technology side, but also on kind of the military side, and keeping not just the Pacific, but the Indo part of the Indian Ocean part for China. The President of the United States has literally thrown away 40 years of meticulous strategic planning and preparation and enhancing and warming the relationship through Democratic Republican administrations, even in his first administration. They threw it all away because Modi would not say that the president deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for the ceasefire that he worked out, Modi believes, with the Pakistanis on their own. And the president, out of ego and then out of money from Pakistan that was paying both his son and Wickoff's son, this is a major strategic blunder that China has used to their advantage. And both that's on the strategic level. And on the economic level, the United States is tariffing and putting tariffs on our allies without thinking through all the equities on defense spending, political alignment of our strategic interests vis-a-vis China, and then our economic integration, which is going to require friends and allies working together with the United States.
So he is very clear. This lobby or this group of people within USA are very clear what they are looking at. And they know that India is indispensable. They recognize the value of India. Right? It's just that the Trump administration is refusing to do so. So be it. I'm not saying that, look, Trump should recognize it. What I am trying to say is, if this group feels that India is so strong and India is so required for USA, there is something in India which USA wants, which is beyond USA's grasp. That is the point I'm trying to make. And we need to understand that point. What is it that India brings to the table in global affairs? Yeah. Last year, we were all talking about Canada, the spat with Canada. Very recently, the Canadian foreign minister came here, Anita Anand. And look at what she says. This is a clip put out by her.
During my visit to India, I focused on two key priorities. First, the safety of Canadians, and second, strengthening our trade relationship. We finalized it.
She says, I want to improve my relations with India. There's a complete turnaround from Canada. And there's something we need to understand. Right? Or why are they trying to change around? Because they don't have any other place to go. This is a report by Bloomberg. It says, look, Brazil is now all gung-ho for India. Brazil and India are Trump pidit, 50% tariff. So there's a lot of scope for India and Brazil to go together. And it is in that context that Vice President was here 3 days back. So he's got into auto rickshaw and done UPI transaction and all that. Met a lot of people, everything. And he said in February Lula will come here. And they're not doing very quick kind of announcements and getaways. They're doing the hard job. They're doing this thing slow and steady. They're looking at the long haul. And why shouldn't we? So look at it. You forget about USA, China. Even if you ignore them, they ignore us. Canada is interested. Now Brazil has come forth. Japan, we are already clear. Philippines, we are already clear. On this tweet, I found that there's something happening in Africa, Global South. We're meeting a whole lot of people in Global South. This happened yesterday. So our diplomacy is up and about, creating opportunities. I've not seen this happening earlier. That's the point. Who's this lady? This lady is Harni Amarasuriya. Who's she? She's the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. She's a alumni of Hindu College, Delhi. She comes, meets everyone. Sri Lanka, which was completely antagonistic towards us and completely against us and pro-China 3-4 years back, is now coming in saris to us. And she goes and interacts with people, children in her college. The change which is happening, this is our nearest neighbor. Oh, of course, we know what's happened with Taliban also. Okay, and this is from where? This is the foreign minister of Egypt, who's come within 2 days. He's come here of that Gaza settlement. Okay, with a special thing from their Egyptian president Al-Sisi to the prime minister. the hub and spoke model of India is growing very fast. There are things where say, look, could India be the third wheel in the G2 world? Are you the third pole? And this examination I first did 3 years back. Why 3 years back? My grandson was 3 years back. I was in USA when my grandson was born. So one day in the hospital, as I was sitting outside, I wrote, "Can India be the third pole?" Others are talking of it now. The 3 years behind the curve, as far as I'm concerned. And then around the same time, South China Morning Post comes out with this graphic, and I keep using this graphic freely everywhere. It just reinforces my point. And then just the other day, I discussed this article from China, which says India is the fifth pole. You could be the third pole, fourth pole, fifth pole, the way you look at it. Why fifth pole? Because this chap says the 5 poles are EU, India, China, USA, and Russia. Now, if you take economics into it, Russia goes out. Russia, with its hardly $2 trillion economy, doesn't stand to fit in the larger economies. But militarily, it has to come in. You put your everything together, you're there. You can't be denied. They can't live without you. And now a lot of people, as much as we want to avoid USA and China, others also want to avoid USA and China. So go back to what the IMF director said, Kristina Grigorova, that the other 188 countries are starting to trade with each other. If that picks up, thank you USA, thank you China, let's get ahead. This is the Kal Chakra I put. This is my Kal Chakra of India. And this is in the past 1 month. In the past 1 month, these countries, I started with about in this Kal Chakra, which I was just about 5-6 countries. Now I can talk of Japan, Brazil, Russia, EU, Italy. EU is not one. You have all countries of EU, all the stars of EU, up Gintaro, right? Then EU, Italy, Germany, France, they are all part of EU, but yet they want to do one-to-one with you. Ukraine, Finland, Canada. Finland is part of the EFTA. Okay, Brazil, of course, we spoke of. Philippines, Singapore. The Singapore Prime Minister was here just about 15-20 days back. UK, we have a free trade agreement with them. Australia, our Defense Minister was in Australia last week. UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. Egypt is yesterday. Israel, of course, is there. So if you see this list is increasing. People who have FTAs, who have arrangements, who have everything. And once upon a time, I couldn't dream of it. Today, there's a lot of change which is happening. And the answer to what I started, can India be stopped or can India rise despite USA and China? The answer is very clear. You can't stop India now. India has come to the critical mass where it will have to go forward. With or without these people. But there are a few things which you need to think. This gentleman is KP Fabian, old foreign service person. Listen to what he says, and then we'll talk a little.
That it is true that India is held in high respect, but there was also a time when India was economically weaker, militarily weaker. When India spoke, the world listened. Whether it was the Korean War, prisoners of war, repatriation, or the Suez Canal crisis, or even Indochina. The world listened to India, and quite often India produced the solutions. Now India is not producing solutions. You take Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the blockade. India has very good relations with both, but so it is the defense minister is right, but we should look at it in the larger picture.
A very important thing. He says, look, India was economically weak, militarily weak, everything weak, but India had a voice. When India spoke, whether it's in the Korean War or wherever, people listened. Now, as your economic heft has gone up, your military heft has gone up, are we able to intervene and talk? For some funny reason, we're not doing it. Whether it's in the Gaza conflict, or in Ukraine, or in South China Sea, or for that matter, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Are we playing the role which we played earlier? Today we should do more. There's a caveat in this. If you have to do more and you be strong on the world stage, you have to have a strong military. You have to have a strong military. If you don't have a strong military, you'll have a problem. Right? And look, let me also say something. This is something, now this fellow cyber trader, he came up with a spoke earlier when I spoke something, now again he is coming. Because he doesn't understand, he's ignorant. When people are ignorant, they'll only think negative. He says, yeah, in the 80s, Japan was going to surpass US economy too, then China, now India's turn, I guess. This is the most foolish statement to, come up with. I'll tell you why. Because it is born out of ignorance. Japan and China were aided economies of USA. USA made those economies. USA has not made our economy. One. Second, Japan and China have been manufacturing powerhouses. They've been exporting their goods. A lot of their growth in the 80s and early part of the century Chinese, last part of the century Japanese, that growth was based on investment. That has petered out in both the countries. Both the countries, the demographics are falling. They are now dependent on export. And the exports are not going forward. Their manufacturing is getting hit. And that is why USA has been able to exercise control over them. Go back to what our RBI governor said in the beginning, which I showed you. We are not dependent on exports. We are a domestic driven economy. You see what Piyush Goyal said, despite the tariffs, things are going okay. So you have to understand the difference. If you take normal templates and transpose it to other countries, then you are living in a fool's paradise. We are in a different track altogether. That is why I got Mr. KP Fabian's short intervention. We need to change our thinking. We need to be more confident, and that confidence will come now with a better military. If you say, what is it that India needs to do better? One, a better military, a stronger military, more focused military. A military which is not focused on Pakistan or China alone, but on capability building to enable your capability to be deployed anywhere. It is then people will start listening to us. Second, you need to do more manufacturing and up your technology. Right? You need to do a little more export. I would say you increase your manufacturing from 13 to this year, maybe even 16, 17%. in the next 1-2 years and go eventually to 20%, you're done. Your exports, if you can increase by another 5-6%, you're done. When I say 5-6%, 5-6% overall. 5-6% overall means that your thing will be much higher. That will have a multiplicative effect. All three will have multiplicative effect on our power and our rise. No mother's son can stop us. Because the biggest export which we have is our human capability. Okay, right. I've done for the day. I do hope you people have liked what I have put across. If you have, do press the like button and also subscribe to Gunner Shot and also join in as members. I'll be grateful to you. Right, I'll take a few questions and then we'll see where we're going. Thanks a lot. Vanakkam to Atish Panigrahi for your contribution. Hans, thanks a lot. You gifted one Gunner Shot membership to someone. I do hope whomever you gifted to keeps that membership. I'll be grateful to him and you. And of course, we should trust our potential and hard work. There is no other choice. Apna Haath Jagannath. Okay. So that is what I thought I'll put across to all of you.